Okay, this is probably going to be a couple of part video, at least two, of making a cylinder pattern for the 040. Now, it's kind of a funny pattern because it has the steam chest on the top and it's right at the center line of the cylinder, and then of course the bottom half is round. Now, I'm going to make two patterns. I'm not going to make repros. I'm going to make wood patterns to mount, which can be somewhat dangerous because if something happens to the foundry and the patterns burn up, well, I'm going to lose the pattern for some reason or other. But the Amish people who are doing the work are pretty trustworthy that way, so should be okay. Now, yesterday, I glued this block up. This is poplar. It's about 3 1/4 inches square, 3 1/2 inches square. It's not a 4x4. It looks like a 4x4, but it isn't. I'm going to bring it close so you can see. And I've got this plate on the end. And I got right here, I've got a seam. And that seam actually is paper. I take the two pieces of wood after I've run them through the planer down here. And I put newspaper, ordinary newspaper, glued to each half of it. Put glue on there, glue it. And when that dries, put some more paper and then glue it together and clamp it, and then it becomes a joint. Now, I'm going to chuck it here in a 4-jaw chuck. I've got the center in here so I can turn this. It's going to spin. I'm going to make it round. And then I'm going to part it out to make the pattern. And once that's completed, I'm going to split it, and that's going to be the bottom half of the cylinders for each side. And I'm going to make the top half is going to be another piece altogether. So you'll see how that comes together during this video. The other thing is these are the heads, at least the layout of them. I got to put these in a 4-jaw chuck. And you can see there, that's where the crosshead right here goes, you know, the crosshead goes there. Crosshead guides go there, and it's going to be machined down. This is just another poplar piece. And I got to do the front heads. And then these are the steam chest covers. They're just a plate, just an ordinary plate. And I'm going to put a little boss on the center here, which I'm going to use a dowel. Just going to take this dowel, put it in the lathe, turn it up with a little taper on it, and glue it to the center. And that's going to be a pattern that's going to have, well, the cylinder pattern will have just two cylinders on there. The other match plate, when you see, it's going to have 2 to front heads, 2 to rear heads, 2 of these, and 2 pistons. That's the pattern. Now it makes up a set. So you get 10 sets, 12 sets, whatever. You get 10, 12 sets of these. And that's going to bring me down to, that's going to clean out all of this from here up. And the piston rack, and then equalizer anchor and the spring yoke. Those two things were a casting back in the day. But now I'm going to make those a flame cut because it's just a flat 1/8 thick shape. And with the flame cutting today, I'll just go to a place and have them laser cut or flame cut or water jet, which is another story. You don't always need water jet. Don't say water jet, water jet, water jet, water jet. It's a waste of money. And we'll get onto this now. The problem with water jet is it moves very slowly. So that costs you time. Plasma cut is more than fine for any of this stuff, any of it, frames and so on. You don't need to have that finish water jet. You're just wasting your money. Okay, we'll get to that another time when we do water jetting, or flame cutting of frames and whatnot for this project. So now I'm about to go into the 4-jaw chuck and the lathe and get this all set up and start to turn this. So that's going to be the next part of this video. Okay, back again. I got the 4-jaw chuck on. I mean, you know how to put that on, right? I have to do that. Okay, now it's a split. Okay, so each jaw is going to go on. I got a center line on this side here. This is the split side here. I got a obviously center line there because it's the way it comes. And I put the center of the jaw on that mark. All right, that doesn't take rocket science to figure it out. I already got this plate in the front centered. And it doesn't really matter all that much because you're going to turn it round anyway. So whatever way it comes out, that's the way it's going to be round. But you want the split to be somewhat parallel with the machine. So what we're doing here is I'm using the old trusty height gauge. And I got a piece of steel here. You should have a plate like this. I got it years ago. It's beat up and everything, but it still works. And I'm putting this on the center line, so, you know, on the center line, run it back and forth. I mean, it don't take that much of a genius to figure that out. You just put it on here, put it there, come over here, put it there, and I'm pretty good. And if I needed to, I could move this up and down. This isn't going to change, the center. That's going to stay there. This is going to go up and down. So I'll move it back and forth, whatever. Now I'm just going to hook it. Just a little extra crank on that. Where's this truck wrench? Just by feel. Just by feel. You know, get bed right into it. This is all an inch and a half or whatever it is chucking. All right. Okay. Now let's see what it looks like. I'm gonna run it slow. This is the slowest speed I got, about 80 RPMs. That's good. That's pretty good. Now, I'm going to change the angle of the compound so it's this way for now. On each end of the cylinders, I got to be tapered in or tapered out, whatever how you want to say it. So I'm going to have to change it one for one side and then for the other. For right now, I'm just going to put it straight. Now, it makes a difference because I got to make sure. Yeah, I got right now. There's another problem with this lathe. I put a mark on it. So I have a mark, so I'm just going to guess at 2 degrees, which is right about there. Actually, I want to be the other way for now. About there. It's about 2 degrees. There's no marks. It should, a good lathe, this is a very good lathe, except that it should have had a little bit wider here and had the marks all the way around. I guess the Chinese don't use that kind of way. Seems to me they do whatever they want to do. Anyway, I'm going to put this over here. Tighten it temporarily. Yeah, well, yeah, we can use all kind of different tools. That's right. But we're going to use this tool. Okay, let's see. Put it in neutral. Always check it. I'm good. Make sure I got it down the other end here. I'm good. And just double check, make sure it's tight. Make sure that's tight. And we're gonna probably run it. Let's see what 275 looks like. That's not too fast. Touch off. It don't matter. And we're gonna turn it round. Somewhere around when it gets to become round or near round. And we're going to go all the way down. Let's just take a look at it real quick. It's probably just hitting on the corners. Yeah, that's right. I could take this and cut it on the saw and angles and all this stuff. But you know what? You're running the danger. If it was real big, I'd do it. But it ain't that much of a deal. I knocked these corners off in no time. Right, I'm almost to the size now, and you see it's round there, and I want to use a sandpaper in a while, but I'm using the good old calipers here. So you put it over the top like this when you want to measure it, and you just pull it. Okay, that's it. That's the size. Of course, you don't touch it. Now I've got a shrink wheel here. For iron is 1/8 equals a foot. Is what I use. 100 thousandths a foot, but 1/8 equals a foot. You put the end of it there, and you swing this around, and I'm about, say less than a 1/16 more on there. So I'm gonna zero out the readout here and take another cut. I'm gonna go 60. I'll go 50. That's 50. Now I got the aluminum. I got to cut the aluminum a little bit. Then I'll be into the wood. You go so far, that's it, because I drop these things. You go so far, that's it. And you put this down like this, push it past it so it's a little smaller, and then drag it over. And you just measure it, man. I'm making it 3 1/4. That's probably more than I need. Let me see. I might want to go a little bit smaller, so I'm going to check that, and I'll be right back. I'm going to probably wind up, actually it finishes at 3 inches, so that's 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch on the side. Probably more than I need, so I'm going to probably take another, I'll probably take another 50 thousandths and let it go with that. Let's see what this turns out to be. Pass the aluminum slowly, and then get into the wood. Turn the feet on. I stop there, check it. I'm going to cut, the cylinder is actually going to go in here, in the middle of it. So these are going to be something extra, which I'll explain to you later. Make sure you're on it. You go past it, drag it over, cut, and just measure it. Okay, I'm right now 3 3/16, 3 3/16. So that's 3/32. That'll do. I'm not going to take it any more than that. By the time I sand it and everything. All right, so we're going to take that cut all the way down to the jaws, and then we're going to lay it out. Okay, that's just all sanded up. That's not too bad, you know. It's nice and smooth. It's to the side. Let me just check it, both ends. This plays pretty good, so we're only working with scale size here, so let's see what we got. 16th, 3/16 there. That's hard to hold. 3/16 there. Within a couple thousandths. That's good. And now, I got a print I made up. It's a rough print. And I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to mark it like this. Like this. Then when I start to spin it, you can see that mark, and I'm going to brace myself and just put the pencil there and make a circle all the way around at that point. Just a rough thing. So the first one is, we're going to go 1 inch in. Inch in. There's an inch. Then we're going to be 1 1/4 inches. I remember that. That's going to be a core print. Now it's not a print like this kind of print. It's a print like print. Okay. And the 4 1/8 is going to be the cylinders. And then 1 1/4 inches. And then whatever left. These pieces here I'm going to use on the ends. Talk to you about them later. So now, when I start to spin this, I'll spin it slower so I can see them. I can see them now. I'm just going to take the pencil and put a mark. Now this is rough. This is rough. Just so I get a rough idea where everything is. Now that's where the cylinder, right in the middle there. Right in the middle here is, you're going to see actually the cylinder. These pieces here is the chucking piece. This is going to be the core print, and this is going to be a chucking piece. Now I'm going to cut these off. I'm going to use these halves later on. That's why I made it longer. So now we're going to rough it out, and I'll just use the cutoff tool to do that. I've got a couple of cutoff tools in here. One of these days I got to make a shelf for them. But we're just going to run the cutoff tool down here rough. I run a little faster for this. 550. So now we're going to go down with this tool I'm using. I can go way down deep and I can push it out a little bit if I need to. Let's see. I got a left and a right too. Woo-hoo! Cut that in half. Just split up. Yeah, where the joint, because it's half. All right, I got that all done, saying that these are both exactly the same size. These are what's called the core print. I'll say it again. Not this kind of print, a print, like a print in the sand, okay? It's not a core, it's not a print like you read. It's a print that prints something in the sand. We'll talk about it later. Everybody seems to get that confused. All right, now I'm gonna face this side so this is exactly right. These are gonna be used later for something else. I gotta dig out the center and then it's done. All right. Okay, I got the pressure's probably going to go off any second. I got the radius tool, made up one, found one, whatever. Matches in. I'm grooving out the center here. I'm just roughing it out. I got about 1/8 of an inch on there. I'm going to go down. Now the sides have to be tapered a little bit. I'll just taper them in with just a little bit after I get down to the 5/8. All right, that looks like it's almost done now. I just gotta touch that up a little bit with the paper is kind of like roughs out the paper there. You can see the joint now. Okay, that's done. That's a cylinder. Now I'm going to take the parting tool here and set it up. I'm going to stick it out a little further, and then I'm going to go in on here the thickness of what I want this to be. And then I'm going to go here, the thickness of what that ring to be. And you'll see what those rings are going to be later. I don't want to leave it as a surprise to you. All right, we're going to move this out. Try it a little bit, I guess. That's got to get all sanded anyway. Okay. Now the lathe work is done on this. Now I'm going to take it out of the machine, put it back over on the bench, take it apart, and then we'll move on to the next subject. Back on the bench, and now I'm going to take this on a bandsaw and split it, cut it off, and I'm going to unscrew the bottom here with the plate. Save that for another job. It's just an aluminum plate, that's all it is. It's an aluminum plate. And then you see the end. The end there, and then of course you can see the whole thing. These, like I said, they're core prints. They're not like a print that you read. They're a print that you make. I guess that's the way to say it. I'm going to cut this on a bandsaw, so. All right. There it is. Okay, now we're going to treat those ends later on. We'll treat those differently, but I need these here pieces. They're going to be something we'll tell you about later. I need these pieces, half of these two halves for the other side. So they'll be put over here. Now comes a moment of truth. We're going to break this apart. And we don't, normally, like Mr. Pete did one, and normally you would drill pinholes in these, you know, through here. Put it on a lathe, on a mill, and drill them, or whatever, on a drill press. But this case, we're not doing that because I got to make a separate half. Even though this is in two halves, it's going to be one cylinder pattern and another cylinder pattern. I got to get my blades ready. I got to have some nice thin blades. I need to clean them up a little bit. All right, now we're going to take this and we're going to attempt to split it. I got to get the split. Put it here. Try it here. Put it on something. So don't go around. Actually do it from the end. And do the other end. Get it right on the paper joint. Ta-da! Now you can see the paper. Just peel that right off or sand it off. We're going to sand it off. There's your two halves. That's it. Only a little of the paper on there, just so you know. Now, that's a half of a piece, half of a pattern. Now the other half, like I said, this has got to go on the block side, and then it's going to be the other half of this. That'll be a block here. Block right here. That'll be the other half, and this will be on either end of it. And like I said, these are what's called core prints. Now we're going to make a core box. We're going to get two halves of poplar. We're going to put them together, and we're going to set them up and drill a hole, and we're going to probably rough it out first somehow with in the saw here, you know, just cut different cuts through the half of it, and then chip it out of there and get a rough hole. And then I'm going to put it in a milling machine and bore it straight out. It's the easiest way to do it. And then put ends on it, and that's your core box. One thing I have to do on here, one thing I need to do here is right here and there, almost like my fingers there. I got to put two little bosses there for the cylinder drain cocks. And that's your mold. Half, perfect. Look at that, beautiful. Beautiful. That's perfect. Okay. That's it. Come back later and we'll do the rest.